Welcome. I hope you had a good day. Now take some time to relax. Let's begin our journey with the jumping spider. Spring arrives in the oak forest. Everything that was brown suddenly remembers it was supposed to be green. The air shifts from sharp to soft, and somewhere on the rough bark of an aging oak tree, a creature the size of a grain of rice wakes up with what can only be described as aggressive optimism. This is a jumping spider, specifically a female bold jumper, and she has just survived winter by sleeping inside a silk retreat she built last autumn. She is approximately 8 millimeters long, which in spider terms makes her average, and in human terms makes her essentially invisible, unless you are the kind of person who inspects tree bark for fun. Her body is covered in dense hair that catches the morning light like velvet. Two enormous, forward-facing eyes dominate her face, giving her the appearance of a very small person wearing goggles they cannot remove. These eyes are not decorative. They are perhaps the most sophisticated visual system of any animal her size, capable of seeing in color, tracking movement, and judging distances with accuracy that would make a professional archer feel inadequate about their life choices. She emerges from her winter retreat slowly, testing the air with her front legs, which she holds up like someone checking if it is still raining. The temperature has finally climbed above 10 degrees Celsius, the magic number where jumping spiders decide that life is worth participating in again. She steps fully onto the bark, pauses, rotates her body slightly to catch the sun. Jumping spiders are solar-powered in a way that makes them deeply relatable to anyone who has ever struggled with winter. Warmth means energy. Energy means hunting. And hunting means not starving, which is the primary goal of every creature that has ever existed. Her first order of business is to eat something, because she has not eaten in 5 months. And while spiders can survive impressive periods of fasting, impressive does not mean comfortable. She begins moving across the bark with a gait that looks less like walking and more like a series of careful hops. Jumping spiders do not scurry. They move deliberately, pausing frequently to assess their surroundings with those enormous eyes. She spots a tiny springtail, an insect so small it barely qualifies as a meal, but right now it looks like a feast. The springtail is oblivious, doing whatever springtails do, which mostly involves existing and occasionally launching themselves into the air using a tail mechanism that works like a biological catapult. She approaches carefully. Jumping spiders are ambush predators, but ambush is a generous term. It is more accurate to say they are stalking predators who get very close and then leap with the kind of confidence usually reserved for people who have never considered the consequences of their actions. She edges closer, closer still. The springtail continues its business, which is currently eating a microscopic piece of fungus on the bark. At a distance of about 3 body lengths, she stops. Her body tenses. Her legs coil slightly, and then she jumps. The leap covers the distance in a fraction of a second, a movement so fast it would be invisible if you blinked. She lands directly on the springtail, her front legs wrapping around it, her fangs delivering a bite that injects venom almost instantly. The springtail does not have time to deploy its escape mechanism. Within seconds, it stops moving. She has caught breakfast. It is not glamorous, but it is enough. She drags her prize to a small crevice in the bark and begins feeding. which in spider terms means injecting digestive fluids and waiting for the insides of the prey to liquefy before drinking them. It is efficient. It is also somewhat unsettling if you think about it too long, which is why most people prefer not to. While she eats, the forest around her continues waking up. A chickadee lands on a branch overhead, calling out in that distinctive two-note song that somehow always sounds cheerful, regardless of circumstances. A light breeze moves through the canopy, carrying the scent of damp earth and new leaves. Somewhere in the distance, a woodpecker hammers against a dead tree with the enthusiasm of someone who genuinely loves their job. The female finishes her meal and moves back into the sunlight. Her body is slightly more rounded now, her abdomen fuller. She feels better, or at least as close to better as spiders get. But spring is not just about eating. It is also about reproduction, which means she needs to find a mate. This is complicated by the fact that male jumping spiders are, to put it delicately, extremely fragile when it comes to the mating process. If she is not interested, she might eat him. If she is interested, but he approaches wrong, she might eat him. If everything goes perfectly and they mate successfully, she still might eat him afterwards, though this is less common than popular culture suggests. Male jumping spiders are aware of these risks. They have evolved an entire repertoire of courtship displays designed to communicate one very important message, which is, please do not eat me, I am a potential mate, not a meal. But that is a problem for later. Right now, she has more immediate concerns. She needs to establish a territory, build a proper retreat, and hunt enough food to build up energy reserves for the weeks ahead. She begins exploring the oak tree, moving across the bark in a systematic pattern that suggests she has some vague plan, though calling it a plan might be generous. Jumping spiders operate less on strategy and more on a series of good decisions made one after another until something works. She investigates crevices, examines promising spots where the bark curls away from the trunk, tests the structural integrity of loose sections with her front legs. She finds a location about 2 feet up from the ground where the bark forms a natural shelter protected from rain and wind. It is perfect. She begins building. Jumping spiders do not build webs for catching prey. That is orb weaver behavior, and jumping spiders find that approach frankly embarrassing. Instead, they build retreats, small silk shelters, where they can rest safely between hunts. She presses her spinnerets against the bark and begins laying down silk in careful layers. The silk emerges as liquid but solidifies almost instantly on contact with air. She moves in small circles, building up walls, creating a space just large enough to contain her body. The structure takes shape over the course of an hour, a small white sac attached to the bark, barely visible unless you know what to look for. She crawls inside and rests. The retreat is comfortable in the way that small enclosed spaces are comfortable when you are a creature that weighs less than a raindrop. Outside, the day continues. Ants march past her retreat in orderly lines, carrying bits of food back to their colony. A ladybug lands on a nearby leaf, pauses to clean its antennae, and then flies away with all the grace of a shopping bag caught in a breeze. The female emerges in the late afternoon to hunt again. She catches a small fly that made the mistake of landing too close to her retreat. Then a mite, which is less a meal and more a snack, but she is not in a position to be picky. As the sun begins to set, She returns to her retreat and seals herself inside with a thin layer of silk across the entrance. This is her routine now. Wake with the sun. Hunt throughout the day. Rest in the retreat at night. She will repeat this pattern for days, building up her strength, preparing her body for what comes next. Spring deepens. The oak tree becomes a vertical landscape of activity. Caterpillars inch along branches, eating leaves with the single-minded focus of creatures whose entire purpose is to consume as much as possible before something eats them. Aphids cluster on new growth, sucking sap, reproducing at rates that seem mathematically improbable. Wasps patrol the canopy, searching for prey to paralyze and drag back to their nests. The female spider navigates this world with a combination of caution and confidence that comes from being both predator and prey. She is too small to interest birds most of the time, but not always. A nuthatch spots her one morning as she crosses an exposed section of bark. The bird tilts its head, considering. She freezes. Jumping spiders have excellent vision, which means they can see threats coming, which is useful, but also means they spend a lot of time being aware of exactly how many things want to eat them. The nuthatch hops closer. She remains motionless, relying on her coloring to blend with the bark. She is brown and tan and covered in patterns that break up her outline, making her look less like a spider and more like a particularly interesting piece of tree texture. The bird studies the bark for several seconds, then it moves on, distracted by an actual insect crawling a few inches away. She waits a full minute before moving again. This is survival, not through strength or size, but through being very good at not being noticed when it matters most. Days pass. She hunts. She grows. Jumping spiders molt regularly, shedding their exoskeleton as they grow, emerging each time slightly larger, slightly stronger. She molts twice in the first 3 weeks of spring, each time retreating into her silk shelter to perform the delicate process of climbing out of her old skin. It is exhausting work, requiring her to carefully pull each leg free, to work her way out of the old exoskeleton without tearing the new soft one underneath. When she emerges, she is pale and vulnerable, her new exoskeleton still hardening. She rests for hours, waiting for her body to regain its strength, for the new shell to cure into its proper hardness. By late spring, she is noticeably larger, nearly 10 millimeters long, her body fuller, her movements more confident. She has established herself in this territory. She knows every crack in the bark, every promising hunting spot, every escape route when threats appear. And then one morning, she notices something new. Movement on the bark below her retreat. Another jumping spider, but smaller. Male. He is perhaps 6 millimeters long, his body more slender than hers, his coloration slightly different. He has distinctive white markings on his face and first pair of legs, patterns that catch the light like small badges. He is moving in an unusual way. Not hunting, not fleeing, dancing. Male jumping spiders do not simply approach females and hope for the best. That is an excellent way to get eaten. Instead, they perform elaborate courtship displays, raising their front legs, waving them in specific patterns, moving their bodies in rhythmic sequences designed to trigger interest rather than predation. He spots her, stops, and then begins his display. He raises his front legs high, showing off the white markings. He waves them in alternating patterns, left then right, right then left. He moves his body side to side, keeping his enormous eyes fixed on her. The display is both impressive and slightly absurd, like watching someone perform an interpretive dance they learned from a manual. But it works. Or at least, it prevents her from immediately attacking him. She watches. He continues dancing, moving closer now, still waving his legs, still keeping that rhythmic side-to-side motion. He is communicating through movement, through pattern, through the ancient language of "I am a mate, not food. Please remember that distinction." She remains still, observing. Her body language is neutral, which in jumping spider terms means he is not dead yet, which is a good sign. He advances, slowly, carefully, never breaking the pattern of his display. Closer now, close enough that she could leap and catch him if she wanted, but she does not want to. Something in his display, in the patterns he is showing, has triggered the correct response. She is receptive. He senses this, though how exactly spiders sense each other's intentions remains somewhat mysterious. Pheromones probably play a role. Body posture certainly does. The general vibe of the situation, for lack of a better scientific term. He moves closer still. She allows it. And then, with a final careful approach, he reaches out with one front leg and gently touches her. She does not attack. This is progress. What happens next is a delicate and somewhat awkward process where the male must transfer sperm from his body to specialized structures on his pedipalps, which are the small leg-like appendages near his mouth. He does this away from the female because performing complex biological functions while your potential mate watches is stressful even for spiders. He returns, approaches again, still cautious, still ready to flee if her mood changes. She remains receptive. The mating itself is brief, mechanical, and over in less than a minute. Afterwards, he does something smart. He leaves immediately. No lingering, no post-mating conversation. Just a rapid retreat down the bark and away, because male jumping spiders who hang around after mating have a notably lower survival rate than those who understand when to exit. She watches him go, then returns to her retreat. Something has changed. Not immediately visible, not obvious from the outside, but inside her body, eggs are beginning to develop. She will need to eat more now, hunt more frequently, build up reserves for what comes next, because in a few weeks, she will lay those eggs. And once she does, her entire world will shift from self-preservation to something else entirely. Protection. Survival not just for herself, but for the next generation. Spring is ending. The forest is fully awake now. Every branch, every leaf, every square inch of bark is occupied by something hunting, hiding, eating, or reproducing. The female spider continues her routine, but with new purpose. She catches a particularly large cranefly, a meal that takes effort to subdue. She hunts throughout the day, resting only when the heat becomes too intense. Her body grows rounder as the eggs develop, and she begins modifying her retreat, reinforcing the walls, adding layers of silk, preparing for what is about to happen. Because soon, very soon, she will become not just a hunter, not just a survivor, but a mother. And that changes everything. The transition from late spring to early summer happens gradually in the oak forest. Temperatures rise, days lengthen, the canopy thickens until the understory exists in perpetual green twilight. The female spider spends more time in her retreat now, conserving energy as her body directs resources toward egg development. She still hunts, but less frequently, choosing easier targets, smaller prey that requires less effort to capture. A tiny leafhopper, an ant that wandered too close, a gnat that made the fatal error of landing within leaping distance. Her abdomen has swollen noticeably, rounded with developing eggs, making her movements slightly more cautious. She is vulnerable now in ways she was not before, heavier, slower, but also driven by instincts that are millions of years older than conscious thought. Protect the eggs, ensure the next generation, survive long enough to see them hatch. One warm afternoon, she begins the process. She seals herself inside her retreat completely, adding layer upon layer of silk across the entrance. The retreat becomes a fortress, a sealed chamber, where she can work undisturbed. Inside, in the dim light filtering through the silk walls, she begins laying eggs. They emerge one at a time, small yellow spheres smaller than grains of sand. She positions each one carefully, building them into a compact cluster. The process takes hours. When she finishes, she has laid approximately 60 eggs, though counting is not something spiders do. She only knows that her body feels lighter, her task partially complete. But laying eggs is just the beginning. Now she must create an egg sac, a specialized silk structure that will protect them until they hatch. She begins spinning immediately. Her spinnerets work constantly, laying down silk in careful layers around the egg cluster. The silk she produces now is different from the silk she used for her retreat. Finer, denser, woven in patterns that create a structure both protective and breathable. She works without rest, moving around the egg cluster, adding layer after layer. The sac takes shape slowly. First, just a coating around the eggs, then a proper chamber. Finally, a complete sphere, white and perfect, attached securely to the wall of her retreat. She stops only when the structure is complete. Then she positions herself next to the egg sac, one leg resting on its surface, and settles in to wait. Jumping spider mothers do not abandon their eggs. They guard them constantly, rotating the sac occasionally to ensure even temperature, defending it against any threat that might penetrate the retreat. This is not sentimentality. This is investment. She has poured enormous resources into these eggs, resources she cannot afford to waste. If they are destroyed, she must start over, hunt more, mate again, lay another clutch. Better to guard these successfully. Outside her sealed retreat, summer arrives in full. The oak tree becomes a vertical city of insects. Caterpillars have grown fat on leaves, preparing to pupate. Cicadas emerge from the soil, climb the bark, split open their backs and pull themselves free, leaving behind perfect empty shells like discarded armor. Beetles tunnel through dead wood, flies buzz in the canopy, and predators hunt everywhere, constantly, because summer is the season of abundance, and everyone is trying to get their share before it ends. A paper wasp investigates the spider's retreat one morning, attracted by something, perhaps a chemical signature in the silk. It lands on the entrance, probing with its antennae. Inside, the female spider tenses. She can sense the vibrations through the silk, can interpret the pattern of movement. Wasp, threat. She remains motionless, hoping the insect will lose interest and move on. The wasp probes more aggressively, searching for an opening. Paper wasps are not typically spider predators, but they are aggressive defenders of their own territory, and sometimes attack other insects out of what can only be described as general irritability. The spider shifts position, placing her body between the wasp and her egg sac. If the wasp breaches the retreat, she will fight. She is small, and the wasp is armored and equipped with a painful sting. The mathematics of this encounter favor the wasp. But mathematics do not include maternal instinct, and maternal instinct changes the odds considerably. The wasp probes for another minute. Then, finding nothing of interest, it flies away to bother something else. The spider relaxes slightly. This is her life now. Constant vigilance. Every vibration analyzed, every sound interpreted. Days blur together in the sealed darkness of the retreat. She does not eat, cannot eat. She has sealed herself in and will not emerge until the eggs hatch. Jumping spiders can survive extended fasts, their metabolism slowing, their bodies running on reserves built up during weeks of hunting. She rotates the egg sac periodically, a gentle repositioning that ensures all sides receive equal warmth from her body. She cleans the silk walls of her retreat, removing any debris that might harbor mold or parasites. She waits. 2 weeks pass, then 3. Inside the egg sac, invisible changes are taking place. The eggs are developing, cells dividing, tiny bodies taking shape. They are becoming spiderlings, miniature versions of their mother, complete but not yet ready to emerge. The female can sense the changes somehow, perhaps through vibrations in the egg sac, perhaps through chemical signals she can detect but not consciously understand. She knows the hatching is approaching. On a warm morning in early summer, the eggs begin to hatch. The spiderlings emerge inside the egg sac, tiny pale creatures no larger than pinheads. They do not move much at first. Still weak from the effort of hatching, they cluster together in the sealed space, surviving on the remnants of their yolk sacs. The mother waits another day. Then, carefully, deliberately, she begins opening the egg sac. Her fangs work at the silk, creating a small opening. The spiderlings sense the change in air and light. They begin to move, slowly at first, then with more confidence. One by one, they emerge from the egg sac into the larger space of the retreat. 60 tiny spiders, each one a perfect copy of their mother, except impossibly small. Their eyes are already functional, their legs already coordinated. They are born hunters, instinct wired into bodies that weigh less than dust particles. The mother watches them. She has succeeded. The eggs hatched. The spiderlings live. Her job is not finished, but the most critical part is complete. She begins opening the retreat entrance, tearing away the silk she sealed so carefully weeks ago. Light floods in. The spiderlings react immediately, some moving toward the light, others retreating from it. They are individuals now, each with slightly different responses to their environment. Some bolder, some more cautious, all trying to navigate a world that has suddenly become very large and very dangerous. The mother emerges first, her body noticeably thinner, her movements careful after weeks of immobility. She needs to hunt, needs to eat, needs to rebuild her strength. But first, she positions herself near the retreat entrance, guarding as her offspring begin their first explorations of the world beyond. The spiderlings venture out slowly. Some climb immediately, heading up the bark toward the canopy. Others move down toward the ground and leaf litter. A few stay close to the retreat, hesitant to leave the only place they have ever known. Within an hour, they have begun dispersing. This is normal, expected. Jumping spider mothers do not raise their young. They provide protection until hatching, ensure they emerge safely, and then the spiderlings are on their own. It seems harsh, but it is effective. Each spiderling carries within it all the knowledge it needs, coded in instinct, refined over millions of years of evolution. They know how to hunt, how to hide, how to build retreats, how to survive. Whether they actually survive is another matter entirely. Most will not. Predators will take some. Starvation will claim others. Accidents, weather, disease, competition. The mortality rate for spiderlings is staggering. Perhaps 5 or 6 from this clutch will survive to adulthood. Perhaps fewer. But 5 survivors from 60 eggs is enough. Enough to maintain the population. Enough to ensure jumping spiders continue in this forest, on this tree, in this small patch of bark that represents the entire known universe to creatures who measure their territories in inches. The mother spider watches the last of her spiderlings disappear into the vast landscape of the oak tree. Then she turns away. Her maternal duties are complete. Now she must focus on survival again. Her own survival. She needs food desperately. Her body is depleted, her reserves exhausted. She spots a small fly resting on a leaf nearby. Approaches carefully. Her movements are slower than they were before the eggs. Her body still recovering from weeks of fasting. But her hunting instincts remain sharp. She stalks. She leaps. She catches. The fly struggles briefly, then stills. She drags it back to her retreat and feeds, her body absorbing nutrients it has been craving for weeks. It is her first meal in nearly a month. It tastes like survival. Summer stretches ahead, long and warm and full of opportunities for hunting, growing, rebuilding. She will molt again soon, shedding the exoskeleton that has become loose on her depleted frame. She will hunt extensively, building back her strength, restoring her body to peak condition, and perhaps, if conditions are right, if food remains abundant, she will mate again before summer ends. Produce another clutch of eggs. Give her genes another chance at immortality through offspring who will carry her forward into the future. But that is speculation. Plans that depend on survival. Right now, she focuses on the immediate. Eat, rest, hunt again, rebuild. One small decision after another, strung together into something that looks like strategy, but is really just the accumulated result of instinct meeting opportunity. This is life at spider scale. No grand narratives, no long-term planning, just the endless work of survival, broken into manageable moments, each one critical, each one a potential ending or a pathway to continuation. She finishes her meal, returns to her retreat, rests in the shelter she built on the bark of the oak tree that is her entire world. Outside, her offspring disperse through the forest, 60 tiny lives beginning their own journeys. Most will end quickly, but some will persist. Some will hunt successfully, grow strong, avoid predators, survive long enough to reproduce, and the cycle will continue, as it has continued for millions of years, as it will continue for millions more, one small spider at a time. Summer deepens across the oak forest, and with it comes the kind of heat that makes even the most energetic creatures reconsider their life choices. The air hangs thick and still on windless afternoons. Leaves droop slightly by midday, conserving water, and every animal with any sense finds shade and waits for the temperature to become reasonable again. Among the dispersed spiderlings from our female's first clutch, one has managed to survive the first 3 weeks of life. This is notable. Most of her siblings have already been consumed by birds, ants, wasps, or larger spiders, who view baby jumping spiders as convenient snacks. But this one, a young female, has made good decisions, or at least has avoided making fatal decisions, which in the natural world amounts to the same thing. She has established herself on a maple tree about 20 feet from her mother's oak. 20 feet might as well be 20 miles when you are a creature that weighs less than a feather. She has never seen her mother since dispersal, will never see her again. This is fine. Jumping spiders are not sentimental about family relationships. The spiderling is perhaps 3 millimeters long now, having molted twice already. She is too small to hunt anything except the tiniest prey. Springtails remain her primary food source. Also aphids, which are slow and numerous, and essentially the training wheels of spider hunting. She has built a tiny retreat in a crack where a branch meets the trunk. The retreat is barely visible, just a small patch of silk that would fit comfortably on a pinhead, but it is enough to provide shelter from rain. Enough to hide from predators during her most vulnerable molting periods. Enough to survive. She emerges in the early morning when the air is cool and the hunting is best. Her eyes, despite her tiny size, are already sophisticated enough to spot movement from several body lengths away. She sees a minute fly, some species so small it probably does not even have a common name, resting on a leaf. She approaches. Her stalking technique is still developing, slightly clumsy, her timing not yet perfected, but instinct guides her movements, and instinct has been refined over millions of years. She gets within range, leaps, misses. The fly takes off, disappearing into the canopy. She lands on the leaf, slightly embarrassed if spiders can feel embarrassment, which they probably cannot, but it seems like they should. This happens frequently. Young jumping spiders miss more often than they catch. It is part of learning, part of developing the precise timing and distance calculation that adult jumpers possess. She tries again an hour later with a different fly. Misses again. Third attempt, mid-morning, she connects. The satisfaction of a successful hunt is probably not something she experiences consciously, but her body reacts appropriately, securing the prey, feeding quickly before anything can steal it. Meanwhile, her mother has recovered much of her strength. The female bold jumper has spent the past 3 weeks hunting almost constantly, rebuilding the reserves depleted by egg production and guarding. She has molted once, emerging with the fresh exoskeleton that fits properly again. Her movements have regained their former precision. She is hunting larger prey now, more ambitious targets, a robber fly, which is itself a predator and puts up significant resistance before her venom takes effect. A small moth that she catches mid-flight with a leap that covers 3 times her body length. Even a young grasshopper, though that proves more difficult than anticipated, and she nearly loses her grip twice before finally subduing it. Summer is the season of abundance for jumping spiders. Prey is everywhere. The oak tree is practically vibrating with insect activity. But abundance brings competition. She is not the only predator working this territory. Other jumping spiders have established themselves on nearby sections of bark. An orb weaver has built a large web in the branches above, catching flying insects that might otherwise have been available. And there are the ants. Ants are everywhere, always, moving in their orderly columns, following scent trails, gathering food, defending their territory with enthusiasm that borders on aggression. Jumping spiders generally avoid ants when possible. A single ant is manageable, but ants rarely travel alone, and attacking one often results in chemical signals that summon others, and suddenly you are facing a small army of insects who are individually smaller than you, but collectively extremely motivated to remove you from existence. The female spider has learned to read ant trails, to move carefully around them, to hunt in areas where ants are less active. This is practical intelligence. Not reasoning exactly, not conscious problem solving, but pattern recognition refined by trial and error, and the simple fact that spiders who ignore ants tend to have shorter lifespans. One afternoon, she spots another jumping spider in her territory. Male. Different species, a tan jumper, slightly smaller than her, but moving with the confidence of an established adult. He is hunting the same patch of bark she has been working. This is a problem. Jumping spiders are not particularly social. They tolerate others at a distance, but overlapping hunting territories create conflict. She approaches him deliberately, her body language shifting. Front legs raised slightly, body position to appear larger. The universal spider communication for this is my space and you should consider leaving. He notices her, stops his hunting, turns to face her. There is a moment of assessment, both spiders evaluating the situation. He is smaller. She is the resident, established here for weeks. The mathematics favor retreat. He backs away slowly, keeping his eyes on her, moving toward the edge of her territory. She watches until he is gone, then returns to her hunting. No violence necessary, just a clear communication of boundaries and a mutual understanding that fighting wastes energy better spent on actual survival. The days develop a rhythm. Hunt in the morning when temperatures are tolerable. Rest during the midday heat. Hunt again in the late afternoon and early evening. Return to the retreat before darkness, because night hunting is possible, but risky when you are a tiny spider, and many predators are active after dark. The female catches a large beetle one evening, something ambitious. The beetle is nearly her own size, armored, equipped with strong mandibles that could injure her if given the chance. She stalks it carefully, waits for the perfect moment, leaps and lands on its back, out of reach of those mandibles. Her fangs pierce the gap between the beetle's armor plates. Venom flows. The beetle struggles, trying to dislodge her, its legs scrabbling against the bark. She holds on, her leg grip surprisingly strong for something so small. The beetle's movement slow. Stop. She has won, though calling it winning seems generous given how close she came to being flung off the beetle's back several times during the struggle. She drags her prize to a sheltered spot and feeds. It is the best meal she has had in days. Protein and fats that will fuel another molt, further growth, continued survival. This is success in spider terms. Not glory, not recognition, just the simple accumulation of meals that keep you alive one more day. July transitions into August. The heat becomes oppressive. Some afternoons the temperature climbs above 35 degrees Celsius, hot enough that many insects simply stop moving, conserving energy until conditions improve. The female spider adjusts her schedule. More hunting at dawn and dusk, less activity during the dangerous midday hours when even the shade offers little relief. She has grown noticeably larger, now measuring nearly 12 millimeters. Her hunting range has expanded accordingly. She explores sections of the oak tree she previously avoided, finding new crevices, new hunting spots, new territories to exploit. One morning, she encounters the male who danced for her in spring. He is still alive, which is somewhat surprising, given the mortality rate for male jumping spiders during breeding season. He is hunting on a lower section of the trunk. She recognizes him not through memory exactly, but through some combination of visual pattern and chemical signature that her brain processes as familiar. He sees her, tenses slightly, probably remembering their last encounter and the uncomfortable truth that female jumping spiders sometimes eat males even after successful mating. But she is not interested in him now. Her body is not ready for another reproductive cycle. She needs to eat more, grow more, build up reserves again. Mating can wait. He seems to sense this, or at least senses that she is not displaying the aggressive hunting posture that would suggest he is about to become dinner. They regard each other for a moment, then both return to their hunting, occupying the same tree, but maintaining careful distance. This is coexistence. Not friendship, not partnership, just the peaceful overlap of territories when neither party has reason to fight. Meanwhile, the young spiderling on the maple tree has grown to 5 millimeters. She has survived another molt, emerging larger and more capable. Her hunting success rate has improved dramatically. She is catching flies regularly now, even managing to take down a small moth. Her retreat has been rebuilt twice, each time larger to accommodate her growing body. She has learned the patterns of her territory. She knows where flies tend to rest in the morning sun. She knows which leaves attract aphids. She knows where to hide when birds pass overhead. This is expertise developing in real time, knowledge accumulated through experience, mistakes that did not prove fatal, successes that reinforced good decisions. Late August brings the first hint of autumn. Not in temperature yet, but in light. The days are noticeably shorter. Shadows lengthen earlier in the afternoon. There is a quality to the sunlight that suggests the year is turning, that summer's abundance will not last forever. The spiders do not understand seasons in any intellectual way, but their bodies respond to the changing photoperiod, to the subtle shifts in temperature and humidity. Instincts begin preparing them for what comes next. The female bold jumper feels the change. Her appetite increases. She hunts more aggressively, catching larger prey, building up fat reserves that will be critical in the months ahead. She successfully takes down a young katydid, a major accomplishment requiring a combination of stealth, precise timing, and considerable bravery, given that the katydid outweighs her and has powerful legs that can kick. The hunt takes nearly 10 minutes from stalk to successful bite. The katydid feeds her for 2 days. She is approaching her maximum size now for this species, perhaps 13 millimeters, though measuring yourself is not something spiders do. She is at the peak of her physical capabilities, strong, fast, experienced. If jumping spiders had professional careers, she would be at the height of hers. One warm afternoon, she encounters something unusual. A large spider web stretched between branches near her territory. Not an orb weaver's web, something else. Sheet web, probably built by a funnel weaver, a spider species that builds horizontal platforms of silk with a retreat at one edge. The web is massive compared to her, several feet across, a structure that represents weeks of work. She approaches carefully. Jumping spiders do not build hunting webs, and they find the whole concept slightly suspicious. Other spiders who rely on webs seem to. Jumping spiders like creatures who have given up on actually hunting and decided to simply wait for food to come to them. This is perhaps unfair, but jumping spiders are not known for their objectivity regarding other hunting strategies. A fly lands in the web. The web's owner, a funnel weaver 3 times the bold jumper's size, rushes out from its retreat. The bold jumper watches with what might be professional interest. The funnel weaver subdues the fly quickly, wraps it in silk, and drags it back to its retreat. Efficient, but lacking the elegance of a stalked hunt, the satisfaction of a perfect leap, the immediate connection between predator and prey. The bold jumper continues past the web, unimpressed. She will stick with her own methods, thank you. September arrives with cooler nights and the first turning leaves. The oak tree's foliage begins showing yellow and brown at the edges. Insect activity remains high, but has shifted. The summer species are disappearing, replaced by autumn specialists. Crickets call more loudly in the evenings. Grasshoppers have reached full size, too large for most jumping spiders to hunt safely, and migration is beginning. Birds moving through, resting in the canopy, hunting frantically to build up energy for their journey south. This makes daytime hunting more dangerous. More birds means more eyes scanning the bark for anything edible. The female spider adjusts again. More hunting at dusk and dawn. More time in her retreat during peak bird activity hours. Survival requires constant adaptation. The environment never stops changing, and the creatures who do not adapt simply do not continue. She molts one final time in mid-September. This is her last molt, the one that takes her to full adult size. She emerges from her retreat with her final body, the form she will carry for the rest of her life. Approximately 13.5 millimeters, fully mature, ready for the challenges ahead. The young spiderling on the maple has also continued growing. She is now 8 millimeters, approaching sub-adult size. She will molt at least twice more before reaching maturity, if she survives, and survival is never guaranteed. One afternoon, a praying mantis climbs onto the maple trunk. The mantis is enormous from the spiderling's perspective, a creature of nightmares, all angles and calculating eyes and forelegs, designed specifically for grabbing prey. The spiderling sees it immediately. Her vision is excellent, and the mantis is not subtle. She freezes. Jumping spiders rely heavily on their vision, which means they are very good at spotting predators, which also means they spend a lot of time being acutely aware of how many things want to eat them. The mantis turns its triangular head. Those large compound eyes scan the trunk. The spiderling remains absolutely motionless. She is brown and small and currently doing her best impression of a piece of bark. The mantis looks directly at her, or at least looks in her direction. Seconds pass. The mantis's eyes are motion-based hunters. If you do not move, they often do not register you as prey. The spiderling's survival depends on this fact. She does not breathe, does not twitch, becomes as close to invisible as a living creature can manage. The mantis shifts its gaze, looks elsewhere, then climbs past, moving up the trunk toward the canopy. The spiderling waits a full minute after the mantis disappears before moving again. That was too close. But close encounters are part of life at this scale. Every day brings moments where survival depends on stillness, on correct decisions made in fractions of seconds. She retreats to her silk shelter and stays there for the rest of the afternoon. Sometimes the best survival strategy is simply not being available. Back on the oak tree, the female bold jumper has noticed the changing light patterns. The angle of the sun is different now. Lower on the horizon, the warmth is less intense, and the nights are genuinely cold, temperatures dropping into the single digits Celsius. She has begun preparing for winter without consciously deciding to do so. Her body is directing her actions, ancient instructions coded into her nervous system. Hunt more, eat everything you can catch, build up reserves, find suitable overwintering sites. She begins exploring crevices in the bark more carefully, testing them for depth, for protection from wind, for structural stability. Winter shelter is critical. The wrong choice means death. Too exposed and you freeze. Too damp and you develop fungal infections. Too shallow and predators can reach you. Too deep and you trap yourself. She finds a promising spot where the bark has separated from the trunk in a long crack. Deep enough for protection, narrow enough to be defensible, angled to shed water. She tests it carefully with her legs, exploring the interior, checking for existing occupants. Empty, perfect. She will remember this location. When the time comes, this is where she will build her winter retreat, but not yet. The weather is still warm enough for hunting. Food is still available. She can afford to wait a few more weeks. October arrives with dramatic weather shifts. Warm days followed by cold nights. The first frost touches the highest leaves. Insects become sluggish in the mornings, requiring sunlight to warm their bodies before they can move effectively. This makes hunting easier for the spiders, who are also solar powered, but seem to warm up faster than their prey. The female catches a large crane fly one cold morning, the insect too stiff to escape her leap. She catches a moth that has landed on sun-warmed bark, trying to absorb heat. She catches a ladybug, which she normally avoids because they taste terrible, but hunger overrides preference. Her body is rounding with stored fats. She is as prepared as she can be for what is coming. The young spiderling on the maple has molted again. She is now 10 millimeters, noticeably larger, more capable. She has survived 4 months, which puts her in perhaps the top 10% of her original clutch. Most of her siblings are gone now, eaten, starved, caught by parasites, victims of accidents or weather or simple bad luck. But she persists. She has made good decisions, or at least avoided making fatal ones. She has learned her territory thoroughly. She has developed hunting skills through constant practice. And she has grown strong enough that many of the predators who would have eaten her in June now find her too large, too difficult, not worth the effort. She is approaching survival threshold, the point where her odds of making it to spring become genuinely good rather than statistically improbable. One warm afternoon in mid-October, something unusual happens. A male jumping spider appears on her maple tree. He is a bold jumper like her mother, though she has no way of knowing this connection. He is slightly smaller than an adult female, but fully mature, his coloring bright, his movements confident. He spots her, stops, and then begins displaying. She is not quite ready for mating yet. Her body is still subadult, not fully mature, but something about his display triggers interest rather than predation. She watches as he waves his legs, as he moves through the ritualized dance that male jumping spiders perform. It is impressive, also slightly absurd, but effective at communicating his intentions. She does not attack him. This is significant. It means her brain has recognized him as a potential future mate rather than a current meal. He completes his display, approaches cautiously. She raises her front legs in a gesture that communicates not yet, but perhaps later. He seems to understand this. or at least understands that she is not eating him, which is good enough. He retreats a short distance and takes up residence on a nearby section of the maple trunk. This is unusual behavior. Male jumping spiders normally move on after rejection, but perhaps he senses that her rejection is temporary, that she will be receptive soon. Or perhaps he simply likes this territory and has decided to stay regardless. Whatever his reasoning, he begins hunting the maple tree, maintaining respectful distance from the young female, occupying his own space. They become neighbors, not quite together, not quite separate. Two spiders sharing a tree, preparing for winter in parallel. The female bold jumper on the oak tree has begun building her winter retreat. She works in the deep crevice she selected weeks ago, laying down silk in thick layers. This is not like her summer retreat. This is architecture designed for survival. Multiple layers of silk creating insulation, a sealed chamber that will protect her from cold and wind, a structure strong enough to last through months of freezing temperatures. She works 4 days, adding layer after layer, creating a fortress small enough to fit on a thumbnail, but sophisticated enough to keep her alive through winter. When she finishes, the retreat is barely visible from outside, just a small patch of silk deep in the crack, easily overlooked, which is exactly the point. The best winter retreats are the ones predators never find. She makes several more hunting trips, taking advantage of the last warm days, a final feast before the long fast. Then, on a cold morning in late October, when frost covers the ground and ice crystals form on the bark, she enters her winter retreat. She seals the entrance behind her with silk, layer after layer, creating a barrier against the cold. When she finishes, she is completely enclosed. Darkness, silence, just her own breathing and the slow beat of her heart. She settles into the hibernation posture, legs tucked close to her body, metabolism slowing. She will remain like this for months, not quite asleep, not quite awake, existing in a state of suspended animation that allows survival with minimal energy expenditure. Outside, autumn continues its progression toward winter. Leaves fall from the oak tree, drifting down to join the growing layer on the forest floor. The bare branches reveal nests and retreats that were hidden during summer. Birds migrate through, stopping briefly before continuing south, and the temperature drops steadily, night by night, degree by degree. The young female on the maple tree has also begun her winter preparations. She builds her retreat near her summer territory, choosing a spot where 3 small branches create a natural shelter. She is less experienced than the adult female, but instinct guides her work. Silk layers accumulating, a chamber taking shape, protection from elements that could end her. The male who has been sharing her tree builds his own retreat nearby, not too close, but within sight if there was light to see by. 2 spiders preparing for winter on the same maple tree, both alone in their sealed retreats, both facing the same challenges, both hoping to survive until spring brings warmth and hunting and the chance to continue the cycle. November arrives with genuine cold. Frost becomes permanent in shaded areas. Ice forms on puddles and stays formed. The forest enters its quiet phase. Most insects gone or dormant. Birds departed, even the wind seeming subdued. Inside their retreats, the spiders wait. Their bodies have slowed dramatically. Heart rates decreased. Breathing minimal. Metabolic processes reduced to the bare minimum required for life. They are not conscious, in any meaningful sense. Just alive, just persisting, just maintaining the spark that will, if all goes well, reignite when spring returns. Snow falls in late November, covering the forest in white. The oak tree stands bare and dark against the snow. The maple tree likewise stripped of leaves. Both trees now just vertical, landscapes of bark and branch, hosting hundreds of small creatures in various states of dormancy. The female bold jumper in her sealed retreat, the young female in her maple tree shelter, the male nearby, and countless other spiders, insects, and small invertebrates, all waiting for the season to turn. December brings the solstice, the longest night of the year. The temperature drops to -15 Celsius. The bark contracts with cold. Ice crystals form in every crack and crevice. But deep in their silk fortresses, insulated by multiple layers, and the small amount of warmth their bodies still generate, the spiders survive. Their antifreeze compounds prevent ice crystals from forming in their cells. Their metabolic slowdown means they require almost no energy. Their silk retreats provide just enough insulation to keep them above the lethal threshold. It is survival by the narrowest of margins. A few degrees colder, and they would freeze. A retreat slightly less well built, and wind would steal their warmth. But they chose well, built carefully, prepared thoroughly, and so they persist through the deepest cold, through the darkest nights, through weather that would seem incompatible with life, this small and delicate. January passes in frozen silence. February follows, equally cold, equally harsh. The spiders remain in their retreats, unmoving, barely alive, waiting for signals their bodies will recognize. Rising temperatures, changing light. The subtle environmental cues that indicate winter is ending and it is safe to emerge. Inside the oak tree's crevice, the female bold jumper's retreat holds firm. The silk layers remain intact. The seal remains unbroken, and deep in the darkness, her body maintains its minimal functions. Heart still beating, breath still flowing, life still present, reduced to its essence but unextinguished. She is surviving winter the same way her ancestors survived thousands of winters before her, through preparation, through patience, through the simple refusal to die when dying would be so much easier than persisting. March arrives with subtle changes that most humans would miss entirely. The sun climbs slightly higher each day. The quality of light shifts from winter's harsh clarity to something softer. And deep in the bark of trees throughout the forest, sealed chambers begin responding to signals their occupants cannot consciously detect. Temperature, photoperiod, chemical changes in the air, all combining to trigger awakening. The female bold jumper in her oak tree crevice stirs first, not dramatically, not suddenly, just a small twitch of one leg, then another. Her metabolism begins accelerating, responding to the warmth that has finally penetrated her silk fortress. Her heart rate increases gradually. Her breathing deepens, and consciousness, or whatever passes for consciousness, in a spider's nervous system, begins returning after months of dormancy. She has survived. This is not guaranteed for jumping spiders who attempt overwintering. Many die in their retreats, their antifreeze compounds insufficient against extreme cold, their silk chambers breached by ice or predators, their bodies simply giving out after months without food. But she made good decisions last autumn, built well, chose her location carefully, and now she is waking up to a world that has survived winter alongside her. She does not move for several hours after that first twitch. Her body needs time to fully restart systems that have been running at minimal capacity for 5 months. Blood needs to circulate properly. Muscles need to remember how to coordinate. Neural pathways need to reconnect. By late afternoon, when the sun has warmed the oak bark to something approaching comfortable, she begins working on the entrance seal. Her fangs and front legs tear at the silk she layered so carefully in October. It takes effort. The silk has hardened over winter, and her muscles are weak from disuse. But gradually, the seal gives way. Light floods into her retreat. Not bright spring light yet, but the pale wash of early March when winter is not quite finished arguing its case. She emerges slowly, testing each leg, making sure everything still works. Her body is noticeably thinner than it was when she entered hibernation. She has burned through her fat reserves, her body consuming itself slowly to maintain the bare minimum of life. But she is alive, functional, and desperately hungry. The oak tree in early spring is a different landscape than the one she sealed herself away from. No leaves yet, though buds are swelling on the branches. No insect activity visible at first glance, just bare bark and weak sunlight and air that still carries the edge of winter cold. She positions herself on a south-facing section of trunk where the sun hits directly, solar charging, essentially. Jumping spiders are extremely temperature dependent, and right now she needs every degree of warmth she can absorb. As her body temperature rises, her movements become more coordinated. She begins exploring tentatively, searching for any prey that might be active. Early spring hunting is difficult. Most insects are still dormant or newly emerged and hiding, but some creatures are active, and those creatures need to eat just as desperately as she does. She spots movement in a crack in the bark. A tiny springtail, one of the few insects active this early. She approaches carefully, her stalking skills rusty after months of inactivity. The springtail is oblivious, doing whatever springtails do, which mostly involves being very small and occasionally jumping. She gets within range, prepares to leap. Her timing is off. She misses by a significant margin, landing on bare bark while the springtail launches itself away with that tail spring mechanism that gives them their name. She is out of practice. This is expected. Predators who emerge from winter dormancy always have a period of relearning, of remembering how to hunt effectively. She tries again an hour later with a different springtail. This time her leap connects. The springtail is small, barely a snack, but it is food. Protein, energy, the beginning of recovery. She feeds quickly, her digestive system reactivating after its long rest. On the maple tree, the young female who survived her first summer is also waking. She is now nearly a year old, having been born last May and overwintered as a sub-adult. Her emergence is similar to the adult females. Slow stirring, gradual awakening, careful breaking of the winter seal. But when she emerges, something is different about her body. She has completed her final molt inside the retreat during the late winter, triggered by some internal timing mechanism that prepared her for spring emergence as a fully mature adult. She is now approximately 11 millimeters long, sexually mature, ready to reproduce. The male who shared her maple tree also emerges in early March. He too has completed his final molt, emerging with the bright coloration that mature males display. His white markings are more pronounced now, his body slightly more slender than hers, and his behavior has shifted from general survival to a more focused purpose. Find females, mate, pass on genes before the brief adult life ends. Male jumping spiders have shorter lifespans than females once they reach maturity. They might have a few months at best. This urgency shapes every decision. He spots the young female on the maple trunk 2 days after they both emerge. She is hunting a small fly that has been lured out by the spring warmth. He watches her catch it, noting that she is successful, coordinated, healthy, good mate quality. He begins his approach. But first, he needs to announce his intentions properly. Jumping spider courtship is not subtle. He positions himself in her line of sight, knowing that her eyes are excellent and she will see him. Then he raises his front legs high. The white markings catch the light. He begins waving them in the specific pattern that communicates his species, his sex, his intentions. Left leg up, right leg up, body swaying side to side. A dance millions of years old, refined by evolution into something that triggers the right response in females, or at least triggers a response that is not immediate attack. She sees him, stops eating, turns to face him fully. Her posture is neutral, which is encouraging. Not hunting stance, not aggressive display, just watching, evaluating. He continues displaying, moving closer slowly, never breaking the pattern. This is the most dangerous part of being a male jumping spider. Get the display wrong and you are food. Approach at the wrong angle and you are food. Make any movement that triggers predatory response instead of mating response, and you are definitely food. But he performs well. Instinct guides him through steps he has never practiced, but somehow knows perfectly. She remains receptive. Her body language shifts slightly, signaling that she is not opposed to this interaction. He edges closer. Close enough now that if she wanted to attack, she could, but she does not. The courtship continues for several minutes, both spiders communicating through movement and posture. Finally, he reaches out with one leg and gently touches her. She allows it, and the mating process begins. It is brief, mechanical, successful. Afterwards, he does the smart thing and leaves immediately. No lingering, no risk, just a rapid retreat to a safe distance on the maple trunk. She watches him go without apparent interest, then returns to her hunting. Inside her body, eggs have begun developing, her first clutch, the continuation of her genetic line. If she survives long enough to lay them, to guard them, to see them hatch. Back on the oak tree, the older female is also experiencing spring mating season. A male bold jumper, not the one from last year, but a different individual who overwintered somewhere in the forest, has found her territory. He displays. She is receptive. They mate. This is her second breeding season, which makes her relatively old for a jumping spider. Most do not survive 2 full years, but she is strong, experienced, and has made consistently good decisions. She will attempt another clutch this spring. April brings genuine warmth. The oak and maple trees leaf out, their canopies filling with green. Insects emerge in abundance. Flies buzz everywhere. Aphids cluster on new growth. Caterpillars begin their methodical consumption of leaves, and the jumping spiders hunt with renewed vigor. The older female on the oak catches a small moth one morning, then a fly, then a larger moth in the afternoon. Her body rounds as she builds up resources for egg production. She is eating almost constantly, taking advantage of spring abundance. The younger female on the maple follows a similar pattern. Hunt, feed, rest. hunt again. Her body is directing enormous resources toward egg development. She can feel the change, though feeling is perhaps not the right word. She responds to internal signals, to chemical cascades, to instinctive drives that have nothing to do with conscious thought. In late April, she begins building her egg sac retreat. She chooses a spot where two branches meet, creating natural protection. She lays down silk in thick layers, building a chamber larger than her normal retreat. The construction takes 2 days. When finished, she seals herself inside and begins laying eggs. Approximately 50 eggs this time, her first clutch slightly smaller than an experienced female would produce. But 50 is still substantial. 50 chances at genetic continuation. She creates the egg sac with the same careful attention her mother showed, though she never observed her mother doing this. Instinct provides the blueprint. Layer after layer of specialized silk, a perfect sphere when complete. Then she settles in to guard. The older female on the oak tree has also begun her reproductive process. This is her second clutch, and she produces nearly 70 eggs. Her experience shows in the quality of her egg sac construction. The silk layers are perfectly uniform. The structure is positioned for optimal temperature control. Everything about it suggests a spider who has done this before and learned from the experience. Both females now enter the guarding phase. Weeks of vigilance, no hunting, no feeding, just protection. May brings the kind of perfect spring weather that makes every living thing slightly optimistic about existence. Warm but not hot. Plenty of rain to keep everything green. Insect populations exploding. The forest is vibrant with life. Inside their sealed retreats, the two females wait. The eggs are developing on their internal schedule. Cells dividing, tiny bodies forming, future jumping spiders taking shape in darkness. The older female rotates her egg sac periodically, cleans the retreat walls, maintains perfect conditions through subtle adjustments. She can sense the development somehow. Chemical signals, perhaps. Vibrations in the egg sac. Some combination of senses that tells her everything is progressing correctly. The younger female is less experienced but equally dedicated. She guards her first clutch with intensity that borders on aggression toward anything that comes near. A beetle investigates her retreat one afternoon. She positions herself between it and her egg sac, fangs bared. The beetle, sensing danger, moves on. Maternal instinct is powerful, even in creatures with brains the size of pinheads. In early June, the eggs begin hatching. The older female's eggs hatch first, her experience having optimized timing. Tiny spiderlings emerge inside the egg sac, pale, soft, impossibly small. She opens the egg sac carefully after waiting a day for them to gain some strength. They emerge into the larger retreat chamber. 70 miniature spiders, each one perfect. She watches them for a few hours, then opens the retreat entrance. The spiderlings begin dispersing almost immediately. Some climb up, some climb down, each following its own instinct towards survival. She has completed her task. Now they are on their own. The younger female's eggs hatch 3 days later. She follows the same process, opening the egg sac, allowing the spiderlings time to strengthen, opening the retreat, watching them disperse. 50 tiny spiders venturing into a forest that is beautiful and abundant, and extremely dangerous if you weigh less than a milligram. Both mother spiders emerge from their retreats exhausted, thin, depleted, but successful. They have reproduced. Their genes continue. Now they must focus on recovering enough strength to survive the rest of the season. The older female hunts immediately, catches a fly within an hour, then another. Her body is desperate for nutrients after weeks of fasting. She feeds aggressively for several days, slowly rebuilding her reserves. The younger female follows a similar pattern. Hunt constantly. Eat everything catchable. Rebuild the body that was depleted by reproduction. By mid-June, both females have regained much of their strength. They are thinner than before egg-laying, but functional, capable hunters again. The forest in summer provides abundant opportunities. Meanwhile, among the hundreds of spiderlings now dispersed through the forest, mortality is extreme. Most will not survive their first week. Birds catch them. Ants overwhelm them. Wasps sting them. Other spiders eat them. Weather kills some. Starvation takes others. This is normal, expected. The entire strategy of producing 50 or 70 offspring at once is based on the assumption that most will die, but some will survive. A few will make good decisions, avoid predators, find food, grow strong. Those few will carry forward the genetic legacy of their mothers. One spiderling from the older female's clutch establishes itself on a birch tree at the forest edge. This one is male, distinctive markings already beginning to show even at his tiny size. He hunts springtails successfully, builds a small retreat, survives his first molt. Another spiderling, female from the younger female's clutch, claims territory on a fallen log. She is slightly bolder than her siblings, taking risks that pay off. She catches a small ant that wandered too far from its colony, then a gnat, then a tiny moth. Each successful hunt increases her odds of survival. These two represent success stories. But for every spiderling that survives, 10 others have already perished. The older female on the oak tree continues her post-reproductive life. She hunts. She maintains her territory. She avoids threats. But something has changed in her body. She is noticeably slower than she was in her first year. Her molts are less frequent now. Her movements slightly less precise. She is aging, which for jumping spiders means approaching the end of a lifespan that peaks around 2 years. She might have a few more months. Perhaps she will survive another winter and emerge next spring. Or perhaps this is her final season. The younger female, now in her second summer, is at her physical peak. Strong, fast, experienced but not yet declining. She has successfully reproduced. If she survives the rest of this year and overwinters again, she might produce another clutch next spring. But that is speculation. Future possibility. Right now, she focuses on the immediate task of survival. One day at a time, one hunt at a time, one decision at a time. July heat settles over the forest. The spiders adjust their schedules, hunting more at dawn and dusk, resting through the oppressive midday hours. Both female continue building strength. The older female catches a particularly large cranefly one evening. It is ambitious prey, and the struggle is longer than it would have been a year ago. But she succeeds, feeds well, gains back some of the weight she lost. The younger female has become an expert hunter. Her success rate is high. She rarely misses now when she leaps. Her timing is perfect, honed by hundreds of hunts. She catches flies, small moths, beetles, the occasional spider smaller than herself. She is thriving. August arrives with the first hints that summer will not last forever. Subtle changes in light, cooler nights, different insects appearing as summer species fade. The spiders continue hunting, but both are beginning to show signs of preparing for autumn. eating more than necessary, building up fat reserves, beginning to evaluate potential overwintering sites. The older female inspects the crevice she used last year. It is still intact, still protected, still suitable. She will use it again when the time comes. The younger female explores several potential sites on the maple tree before selecting one. A deep crack where a branch broke off years ago, protected from wind, angled to shed water, perfect for winter survival. She will remember this location. When September brings cooler weather and shorter days, this is where she will build her winter retreat. Both spiders continue hunting through late August. Every meal now is insurance against winter. Every successful hunt increases their odds of surviving until next spring. They are both survivors. Both have made consistently good decisions. Both have contributed to the next generation of jumping spiders in this forest. And both are preparing once again to face the challenge that ends many spider lives. Winter is coming, and survival requires preparation, patience, and a considerable amount of luck. September arrives with dramatic shifts in the forest ecosystem. The canopy begins its transformation from solid green to patches of yellow and red. Morning, temperatures drop into single digits Celsius. Frost touches the ground in shaded areas, and the spider population begins its annual decline as individuals who will not survive winter start disappearing. The older female on the oak tree has slowed noticeably. Her movements lack the precision they once had. She catches prey less frequently now, missing leaps that she would have made easily a year ago. Age is catching up with her, as it catches up with all jumping spiders who survive long enough to experience it. She is approaching the end of her second year of life. For her species, this is exceptional longevity. Most jumping spiders die before completing 2 full annual cycles. She has beaten the odds repeatedly, survived 2 winters, produced 2 successful clutches, hunted countless meals, avoided thousands of potential deaths, but now her body is wearing out. Joints that were once smooth are stiffening. Eyes that were once perfect are losing acuity. Reflexes that were once instantaneous are slowing. She still hunts, but less successfully. She catches smaller prey now, easier targets. A slow-moving aphid, a sluggish fly warming itself on bark. Springtails, which were her staple food as a spiderling and have become staple food again in her decline. She is eating enough to survive, but not enough to thrive. Her body remains thin despite the abundance of autumn insects. One cool morning in mid-September, she attempts to catch a moderately sized fly. The stalk is good. Her positioning is correct. But when she leaps, her timing is off by just a fraction of a second. The fly takes off before she connects. She lands on empty bark, misses completely, and in landing, something in her front right leg fails. A joint gives out. Muscle or tendon damaged. She limps back to her retreat, favoring the injured leg. Jumping spiders can survive with damaged legs. They have 8 of them for a reason. But damaged legs mean reduced hunting capability, which means less food, which means further weakening. It is a cascade that rarely reverses. She rests in her retreat for 2 days, her body attempting to heal. The leg improves slightly but will never return to full function. When she emerges to hunt again, she is noticeably impaired, still capable, but diminished. She adjusts her strategy, hunting even smaller prey, things she can catch with less athletic precision. It works, barely. She survives day to day. But she is no longer building up reserves for winter. she is simply maintaining, and maintenance is not sufficient for overwintering. The younger female on the maple tree is having a very different September. She is at peak condition, strong, fast, experienced. Her hunting success rate remains high. She catches a large moth one evening, prey that requires significant skill to subdue, then a beetle the following morning, then 2 flies before noon. Her body is rounding with fat reserves. She is preparing well for winter, accumulating the resources needed to survive months without food. She has also begun preliminary work on her winter retreat, not building yet, but inspecting her chosen site regularly, clearing away debris, testing the structural integrity. When the time comes, she will be ready. October brings the first serious cold. Nighttime temperatures drop below freezing regularly. Ice forms on puddles and remains until midday. The insect population crashes as cold-sensitive species die off. What remains are the hardy autumn specialists and the individuals preparing for their own winter dormancy. The older female on the oak tree makes a decision, though decision implies conscious choice, and this is more instinctive response to environmental conditions and her own failing body. She enters her crevice retreat in mid-October, earlier than last year, earlier than ideal, but her body is telling her that continuing to hunt is more dangerous than helpful. Better to seal in now, conserve what reserves she has, and hope they last through winter. She begins laying down silk across the entrance, layer after layer. The work is exhausting given her weakened state, but instinct drives her forward. Seal the entrance, create insulation, prepare for dormancy. When she finishes, she is sealed inside darkness. Her winter retreat is less robust than last year's. Fewer silk layers, less insulation, built by a body that no longer has the strength for perfection. She settles into hibernation posture. Her metabolism slows, her breathing decreases, and she enters the suspended state that might sustain her until spring, or might not. Her odds are poor. She is old, injured, and underweight. The winter ahead will be a test she may not pass, but she has done everything her instincts tell her to do. The rest is beyond her control. The younger female continues hunting through late October. She is taking advantage of every remaining warm day, every final opportunity to add to her reserves. She catches flies that are themselves preparing for winter. She hunts beetles moving sluggishly in morning cold. She even catches a small wasp, which is risky but successful. Her body is as prepared as it can be. Fat reserves are substantial. Her retreat site is selected. All that remains is the actual construction and sealing. She begins building on the last day of October. The temperature is just above freezing, cold enough to suggest winter is imminent, but warm enough for her to work. She lays down silk methodically, thick layers, perfect spacing, a structure designed for maximum insulation with minimum weight. The construction takes 3 days. When complete, her winter retreat is a masterpiece of spider architecture. Multiple silk layers creating air pockets for insulation. A chamber just large enough for her body, minimizing the space she needs to keep warm. Positioned in the crack she selected, protected from wind and precipitation. On November 3rd, she enters the retreat for the final time this year. She seals the entrance behind her with careful layers of silk. Each layer makes the retreat darker, more isolated, more protected. When she finishes, she is completely sealed away from the outside world. She settles into position, legs tucked close, body compact, and her metabolism begins its dramatic slowdown. Heart rate decreasing, breathing minimal, body temperature dropping to match the environment. She is entering diapause, the spider equivalent of hibernation, a state of suspended animation that will preserve her life through months of cold. Outside, November progresses with increasing cold. The oak and maple trees stand bare. The forest floor is covered in fallen leaves, and winter begins its long occupation of the landscape. Inside their sealed retreats, 2 jumping spiders wait. The older female, weakened and uncertain. The younger female, strong and optimally prepared. Both have made their choices, built their shelters, done everything possible to survive. Now they simply exist in darkness, not conscious, not dreaming, just alive at the minimum level that constitutes life. Their antifreeze compounds prevent ice crystals from forming in their cells. Their silk retreats provide just enough insulation. Their fat reserves supply the minimal energy needed to maintain basic functions. December brings brutal cold, -20 Celsius on the coldest nights. Snow covers everything. The forest is silent except for wind moving through bare branches. Inside the oak tree's crevice, the older female's body is struggling. Her reserves are depleting faster than they should. Her damaged leg requires extra energy for her body to maintain. Her age means her metabolism is less efficient than it once was. She is on the edge of the viable threshold. Any colder, and she will freeze despite her antifreeze compounds. Any longer, and she will starve despite her dormancy. But she persists, barely. Her heart still beats, slow but steady. Her breath still flows, faint but present. She clings to life with the stubbornness that got her through 2 years of existence. Inside the maple tree's crack, the younger female is stable. Her retreat is well built. Her reserves are substantial. Her body is strong enough to maintain itself efficiently. She is cold, obviously, but within the range her species can tolerate. She will survive this winter. Barring catastrophe, she will emerge in spring. January passes in frozen silence. February follows, the longest stretch of winter when it seems the cold will never end, but eventually it does. March arrives. The sun climbs higher. Temperature begins its slow climb above freezing, and deep in their retreats, 2 spiders begin responding to signals their bodies recognize. The younger female stirs first, a small movement, then more. Her metabolism accelerating, her body remembering how to function normally. She begins working on her entrance seal. It takes time. The silk has hardened, but gradually she breaks through. Light enters her retreat. Weak March light, but light nonetheless. She emerges slowly onto the maple bark. She has survived her second winter. She is now approaching 2 years old, entering her 3rd season of life. This makes her elderly by jumping spider standards, but she is healthy, strong, capable. She positions herself in sunlight to warm, and when her body temperature rises enough, she begins hunting. A springtail, small, but it is food, the beginning of recovery. Inside the oak tree, the older female does not stir. Her retreat remains sealed, silent. She did not make it through winter. At some point in the long cold months, her reserves depleted beyond the critical threshold. Her heart stopped, her breathing ceased, and she became one of the countless jumping spiders who die in their winter retreats, having survived as long as their bodies would allow. She lived 2 full years, produced 2 successful clutches of offspring, hunted successfully for hundreds of days, survived countless dangers, and died quietly in darkness, which is how most jumping spiders end. Not dramatically, not violently, just a slow fading as life becomes unsustainable. Her genes continue in her offspring, dozens of whom are scattered through the forest. Some have already died, but others have survived, carrying forward the traits that made her successful. The ability to choose good territory, the skill to hunt effectively, the instinct to build quality retreats. All of it encoded in DNA, passed down through generations, refined by natural selection. The surviving female emerges into her 3rd spring with the confidence that comes from experience. She has done this before, survived winter twice, hunted through multiple seasons, reproduced successfully. She knows this maple tree intimately, every crack and crevice, every good hunting spot, every escape route. This knowledge is survival advantage. March hunting is challenging as always, but she is efficient. She catches springtails with minimal wasted effort, positions herself in optimal sunlight for warming, conserves energy between hunts. Her body recovers from winter faster than it did her first year. Experience matters even in creatures with tiny brains. By early April, she has regained most of her winter weight loss. Her movements are sharp again. Her hunting success rate is high. She is ready for another breeding season. The forest around her is experiencing its annual renewal. Buds breaking into leaves, insects emerging from winter dormancy, birds returning from migration, their songs filling the canopy, and jumping spiders, dozens of them throughout the forest, all following similar patterns. Emerge, hunt, recover, reproduce. A male bold jumper finds her territory in mid-April. He is young, probably overwintered as a subadult and completed his final molt recently. His coloring is bright, his movements enthusiastic. He spots her on the maple trunk, begins his courtship display immediately. Front legs raised, white markings flashing, body moving in that characteristic side-to-side pattern. She watches with the interest of a female who has seen this before. His technique is good, not perfect, but adequate. She is receptive. They mate successfully. He departs immediately after, showing good survival instinct. She returns to hunting. Inside her body, her 3rd clutch of eggs begins developing. This will be her final reproductive effort. Jumping spiders rarely survive long enough for a 4th clutch. 2 years is exceptional longevity. 3 years is virtually unheard of in wild populations. She is living on borrowed time, biologically speaking. But right now, in this moment, she is healthy and functional. She hunts a large fly in late April. The chase takes her up the maple trunk, across several branches, finally connecting with a leap that covers impressive distance. The fly struggles. She holds firm. Her venom works quickly. Victory. This is what successful predation looks like. Not dominance through size or strength, but through precision, timing, and perfect execution of instinctive behavior. May brings abundant prey and perfect weather. She hunts constantly, building resources for egg production. Catches flies, small moths, beetles, anything within her size range. Her abdomen swells with developing eggs. In early June, she builds her final egg sac retreat. The construction is efficient, refined by 2 previous iterations. She knows exactly how thick the walls need to be, exactly how to position the chamber, exactly when to seal herself inside. She lays approximately 45 eggs this time, slightly fewer than her previous clutches. her aging body directing fewer resources toward reproduction. But 45 is still substantial. 45 potential offspring. She creates the egg sac with practiced skill. Perfect spherical shape, optimal silk density, everything positioned correctly. Then she settles in to guard. This part never changes. The vigilance required, the weeks without food, the constant awareness of threats. Maternal instinct is powerful regardless of how many times you experience it. Outside her sealed retreat, June progresses beautifully. The maple tree is in full leaf. Insects are everywhere. The forest ecosystem is operating at peak efficiency. Inside the retreat, eggs develop, cells divide, tiny bodies form, the next generation takes shape. In late June, the eggs hatch. 45 miniature spiders emerge into the darkness of the egg sac. She waits the appropriate time, then opens the sac carefully. The spiderlings move into the larger chamber. She observes them briefly, then opens the retreat entrance. They begin dispersing immediately. Some climb up toward the canopy, others move down toward the forest floor, each following instinct toward survival. She watches them go. Her job is complete. 3 successful clutches over 3 breeding seasons. Perhaps 165 offspring total, though she has no concept of numbers. Most will die, but some will survive. A few might even live as long as she has, might experience multiple seasons, multiple winters, multiple reproductive cycles. Her genes will continue through them. This is success in evolutionary terms, not individual immortality, but genetic persistence through offspring. She emerges from her retreat exhausted, thinner than she has ever been. The weeks of fasting have depleted her severely, and her body, already old by spider standards, is struggling to recover. She hunts immediately, catches a small fly, then rests for several hours, hunts again in the evening, another fly. The feeding helps, but recovery is slower this time. Her third post-reproductive period is more challenging than the previous 2. Age has accumulated, joints are stiffer, reflexes slightly delayed, vision not quite as sharp. She can feel the difference, though feeling is probably not the right word. Her body responds differently. Movements that were once automatic now require more effort. Hunts that were once routine now demand more energy. She adjusts her strategy accordingly. Smaller prey, easier targets, more rest between hunts. It works mostly. She maintains herself through July, catches enough food to survive, avoids most threats, continues existing in the territory she has claimed as her own. One warm afternoon, she encounters another jumping spider on her maple tree. Female, young perhaps from an early spring clutch, bold and inexperienced. The younger spider does not recognize territorial boundaries properly. Moves into an area the older female has been hunting. The older female approaches, raises her front legs in a threat display. The younger spider sees her, should retreat, but does not. Instead, the young female displays back. This is a challenge. Territory disputes among jumping spiders are usually resolved without violence. Size, confidence, and established residence typically determine outcomes, but sometimes, rarely, disputes escalate. The older female advances. She is larger, more experienced, but also slower, weaker than she once was. The younger spider does not back down, advances as well. They meet on a section of bare bark. For a moment, both spiders pause, assessing, calculating odds in whatever way spider nervous systems calculate such things. Then, the younger spider attacks. It is a quick lunge, fangs aiming for legs. The older female responds with movements honed by years of predatory experience. She sidesteps, counters, grabs one of the younger spider's legs, but her grip is not as strong as it once was. The younger spider pulls free, lunges again, this time connects. Fangs pierce the older female's abdomen. Venom flows. The older female tries to disengage, retreat, but the younger spider holds on, bites again. The venom is working now, paralyzing muscles, disrupting neural function. The older female's legs begin to fail. She falls. The younger spider releases her, steps back, watches. The older female tries to move, cannot. The venom has overwhelmed her system. Within minutes, her movements cease entirely. She is still breathing, but barely. The younger spider approaches cautiously, checks that the threat is neutralized, then moves on to hunt in the territory she has just claimed. The older female lies on the maple bark, paralyzed but conscious in some minimal way. Her body is shutting down, not just from the venom, though that is contributing, but from the accumulated strain of 3 years of life. The territorial fight simply accelerated what was already approaching. She cannot move, cannot hunt, cannot retreat to safety. This is how it ends for her. Not in her winter retreat, not from starvation or cold, but from conflict with another of her own species, from a younger, stronger individual claiming resources. This is natural. This is how populations turn over. Old individuals replaced by new ones. Genes tested against each other. Selection operating through countless small conflicts. She dies on the maple bark in late July. Her body will be scavenged by ants within hours, recycled back into the ecosystem. Nothing wasted. Meanwhile, her offspring continue through the forest. Dozens of spiderlings from her 3 clutches are scattered across multiple trees. Most have already died, as spiderlings do. But some persist. One young female from her final clutch has claimed a small oak sapling at the forest edge. She is approximately 3 millimeters long now, having survived 6 weeks. She hunts springtails and tiny flies, has molted twice successfully, is growing stronger daily. Another of her offspring, male, has established himself on a dead tree stump. He is slightly larger, perhaps 4 millimeters. His hunting skills are developing well. He catches a small moth one morning, prey larger than anything he has attempted before. The hunt is successful. This builds confidence, and confidence leads to bolder hunting, and bolder hunting leads to faster growth. These 2 represent success, but they are just 2 among dozens of offspring. A 3rd young spider from the 2nd clutch, also female, has survived her first full year. She overwintered successfully in a pine tree, emerged in spring, is now approaching sexual maturity. She represents the continuation of her mother's genetic line, carries the same traits that made her mother successful: good territorial selection, effective hunting techniques, quality retreat construction, all coded in DNA, passed down, refined by selection. She will likely mate this summer, produce her own clutch of eggs, continue the cycle. The forest ecosystem supports hundreds of jumping spiders across multiple species, each one hunting, hiding, reproducing, dying, each one playing a small role in the complex web of predator and prey relationships. Jumping spiders consume enormous numbers of small insects, help control populations of flies, aphids, small beetles, and in turn they are consumed by birds, larger spiders, wasps, and other predators. Energy flowing through the system, nutrients cycling, life feeding on life in patterns repeated countless times daily. August brings the season's peak heat. The young female on the oak sapling has grown to 7 millimeters, large enough now to hunt more substantial prey. She catches a housefly, which is ambitious for her size. The fly is fast, alert, but she stalks perfectly, positions herself correctly, leaps with precision, connects. The fly struggles powerfully. She holds on, fangs delivering venom. The struggle continues for nearly a minute. Then the fly's movements slow. Stop. She has succeeded. This meal will sustain her for days. Provide resources for her next molt. Move her closer to adulthood. Her brother on the dead stump has also grown. 8 millimeters now. He is approaching his final subadult stage. One more molt will bring him to sexual maturity. Then his life will shift focus from pure survival to reproduction. He will seek females, perform courtship displays, attempt to mate before his brief adult lifespan ends. Male jumping spiders rarely survive more than a few months after reaching maturity. They burn bright and fast, focused entirely on passing their genes forward. The young female from the second clutch, now fully mature, has successfully mated in early August. She is building her first egg sac retreat. The construction is adequate if not perfect. She lacks her mother's experience, but instinct guides her sufficiently. She will produce perhaps 30 eggs, smaller clutch than an experienced female, but respectable for a first attempt. If she survives to next year, her second clutch will be larger. But survival to a second breeding season is never guaranteed. September arrives with cooling temperatures. The young female on the oak sapling continues hunting aggressively. She is building reserves for her first winter. Never having experienced winter, she does not consciously understand what is coming. But her body knows. Instinct drives her to eat more, to scout for potential overwintering sites, to prepare for a challenge she has never faced. She finds a deep crack in the oak sapling where a branch broke off, tests it carefully with her legs, protected from wind, good drainage, structurally sound. This will be her winter retreat when the time comes. Her brother on the stump is experiencing his final weeks of life. He completed his maturation molt in late August. Now, as a fully adult male, his time is limited. He has attempted to mate 3 times. 2 attempts failed when females were unreceptive. The third succeeded. He has passed his genes forward, accomplished the biological imperative that defines male existence. Now his body is beginning to fail. Adult male jumping spiders simply do not live long. Their metabolism burns too hot. Their bodies are optimized for courtship displays and mating, not longevity. He grows weaker daily, hunts less successfully, moves more slowly. By late September, he is clearly dying. Not from injury or predation, just from the natural endpoint of male spider existence. He retreats into a small crevice in the stump, curls his legs inward, and dies quietly. His life lasted approximately 4 months from egg to end. Brief by any standard, but he reproduced, which is all evolution requires. His genes continue through offspring that will hatch next spring. The young female who was his mate is guarding her egg sac as September progresses toward October, her first experience with maternal duty. Weeks of vigilance without food, constant awareness of threats. It is exhausting, but instinct keeps her focused. Protect the eggs, ensure the next generation. October brings cold mornings and changing leaves. The young female on the oak sapling is nearly full grown now, 10 millimeters long. Sexually immature still, but close to her final molt. She is hunting less frequently now, the cold reducing insect activity, but she continues building reserves when opportunities arise. She catches a large crane fly on a warm afternoon, then a beetle, then a final moth as October ends. Her body is ready for winter. Fat reserves are substantial. Her retreat site is selected. On November 1st, she begins construction, her first winter retreat. No experience to guide her, just instinct. She lays down silk in thick layers, creates a chamber barely large enough for her body, works methodically for 2 days. The result is good, not perfect, but adequate, sufficient for survival if winter is not too harsh. On November 3rd, she seals herself inside, layer after layer of silk across the entrance, each layer reducing light, increasing protection. When she finishes, she is in complete darkness. She settles into hibernation posture, her first winter dormancy. Her body begins its metabolic slowdown, heart rate decreasing, breathing minimal, temperature dropping to match her environment. She is entering diapause, trusting instinct and silk and antifreeze compounds to keep her alive until spring. Elsewhere in the forest, the female who was guarding eggs has also completed her cycle. Her eggs hatched in early October. Spiderlings dispersed. She emerged depleted, hunted briefly, but winter came too quickly for full recovery. She sealed herself into a retreat in mid-October, underweight, weakened from reproduction. Her odds of survival are poor, perhaps 50-50, maybe worse, but she has done everything possible. Her genes continue through her offspring. Whether she personally survives to spring is now beyond her control. Winter settles over the forest. November's cold gives way to December's brutal temperatures. Snow covers everything. The forest grows silent. Inside sealed retreats throughout the ecosystem, jumping spiders wait. Some in optimal condition with good reserves and quality shelters. Others barely hanging on, their survival uncertain. This is how winter works, testing every individual, selecting for those who prepared well, eliminating those who did not. The young female in the oak sapling is stable through December. Her retreat holds firm against wind and cold. Her antifreeze compounds keep ice from forming in her cells. Her reserves provide minimal energy for basic functions. She persists through the darkest, coldest part of the year. Not thriving, but surviving, which is sufficient. January brings even colder temperatures, -25°C on the coldest nights. Many jumping spiders die in January, their reserves finally depleted, their retreats breached by ice or predators, their bodies simply giving out under the strain. But the young female on the oak sapling continues. Her youth helps. Her healthy body entering winter helps. Her quality retreat construction helps. She makes it through January, then February. March arrives with warming temperatures. The young female stirs, slowly at first, then more actively as her metabolism restarts. She begins working on her entrance seal. The silk gives way gradually. Light enters her retreat. Pale March light, but enough. She emerges onto the oak sapling bark. She has survived her first winter. She is now approaching 1 year old, still young by jumping spider standards, with potentially 2 more years ahead of her if she makes good decisions. She positions herself in sunlight, absorbs warmth, and when her body temperature rises sufficiently, she begins hunting, a springtail, small, but it is the beginning of recovery. The female who was underweight entering winter does not emerge. Her retreat remains sealed on her tree, silent. She did not make it through, died sometime in the long, cold months, her reserves insufficient, her body unable to maintain itself. She was approximately 1 year old, managed one successful reproductive cycle. Her offspring carry forward what she could not. This is the cycle: birth, growth, reproduction, death, repeated countless times across countless individuals, each life brief, each death unremarkable, but collectively they maintain the population, ensure jumping spiders continue in this forest, persist through seasons and years and decades. The young female who survived begins her second spring with the advantage of experience. She knows how to hunt efficiently, knows her territory, knows the patterns of weather and prey. She will hunt through spring and summer, will molt into full adulthood, will mate and produce her own clutch of eggs, will attempt to survive another winter. Whether she succeeds depends on decisions she has not yet made, on luck she cannot control, on 1,000 small factors that determine survival. But right now, in this moment, she is alive, hunting on her oak sapling, carrying forward the genetic legacy of her grandmother, her mother, countless generations before. One small spider among thousands in this forest, unremarkable individually, significant collectively, a tiny thread in the vast web of life that connects all living things. Spring progresses into April with its characteristic explosion of life. The oak sapling where the young female established herself is leafing out, tiny green buds opening into proper leaves, and with the leaves come insects, aphids clustering on new growth, flies emerging from pupae in the soil, moths taking their first flights, caterpillars beginning their methodical consumption of foliage. The ecosystem is reactivating after winter's pause. The young female hunts methodically through April. Her body is recovering well from winter, muscles regaining strength, coordination improving daily. She catches a small fly in the morning, then a springtail, then another fly in the afternoon, each meal rebuilding her reserves, restoring her body to peak condition. By late April, she is noticeably larger. She has completed another molt, emerging at 12 millimeters. This is her final subadult stage. One more molt will bring her to full maturity. That molt comes in early May. She seals herself into a temporary retreat she built for the process. The molting takes hours, carefully extracting herself from the old exoskeleton, pulling each leg free without damaging the new soft exoskeleton beneath. When she emerges, she is pale and vulnerable, but within a day, her new exoskeleton has hardened. She is now a fully adult female jumping spider, sexually mature, capable of reproduction. Her body has shifted subtly into reproductive readiness. Within days, a male finds her territory. He is young, probably overwintered as a subadult like she did. His courtship display is enthusiastic, if not particularly skillful, but it works. She is receptive. They mate successfully in mid-May. Her first breeding cycle begins, eggs developing inside her body, resources being directed toward reproduction rather than just survival. She hunts more aggressively now, needs more food to support egg production, catches flies, small moths, beetles. Anything within her size range becomes potential prey. Her abdomen swells gradually as eggs develop. In early June, she begins building her first egg sac retreat. The construction is guided by instinct she has never used before, but the instinct is strong, detailed, refined by millions of years of evolution. She knows exactly what to do, even though she has never done it. layer after layer of silk, a chamber large enough for herself and the egg sac she will create. Perfect positioning for temperature control. When the retreat is complete, she seals herself inside, lays approximately 40 eggs, creates the egg sac with specialized silk, then settles in to guard. This is her first experience with maternal duty. The vigilance required, the weeks without hunting, the constant awareness of every vibration, every potential threat. It is exhausting, but instinct keeps her focused. Protect the eggs, ensure the next generation. Outside her sealed retreat, June continues. The oak sapling is fully leafed now. Birds nest in the branches. Insects are everywhere. The summer ecosystem operates at peak activity. Inside the retreat, eggs develop. Tiny jumping spiders forming in darkness, her offspring, her genetic continuation. In late June, the eggs hatch. 40 miniature spiders emerge inside the egg sac. She waits the appropriate time, then opens the egg sac carefully. The spiderlings move into the larger chamber. She observes them briefly, her offspring, tiny mirrors of herself. Then she opens the retreat entrance. They begin dispersing immediately. Some climb up the sapling toward higher branches. Others move down toward the ground, each following instinct, seeking their own territories, beginning their own journeys. She watches them go. Her first clutch successfully released into the world. Most will die within days or weeks, but some will survive, will grow, hunt, reproduce, will carry her genes forward. She emerges from her retreat thin and exhausted. The weeks of fasting have depleted her significantly, but she is young and strong. Recovery should be manageable. She begins hunting immediately, catches a fly within the hour, then another in the evening. Over the following days, she hunts aggressively, rebuilding her body, restoring reserves, preparing for the rest of the season. By mid-July, she has recovered well. Her body has regained most of its pre-reproduction condition. She is hunting successfully, maintaining her territory, living the daily routine of a jumping spider in summer. Hunt, rest, hunt again, avoid threats. One warm afternoon, she encounters a challenge. A large orb weaver spider has built a web near her hunting area. The web is massive, spanning between branches of her oak sapling. It is catching flies that would otherwise be available prey. This is competition, not direct, not aggressive, but real nonetheless. The orb weaver sits in the center of its web, waiting for prey to fly into the silk. The jumping spider watches from the bark below. Different hunting strategies, different ecological niches, but overlapping enough to create tension. She adjusts her hunting pattern, focuses on areas away from the web, hunts more on the trunk where flying insects land before taking off. Adaptation to changing circumstances. This is survival, not through dominance, but through flexibility. August brings peak summer heat. The young female adjusts her schedule. More hunting at dawn and dusk. Less activity during oppressive midday hours. She catches a large moth one evening as it rests on bark. The moth is nearly her own size. The struggle is intense. She holds on, fangs delivering venom. The moth's wings beat frantically, but gradually its movements slow. Stop. She has succeeded. This meal will sustain her for several days, provide resources for continued growth and energy storage. Late August brings the first subtle hints of autumn, cooler nights, different quality to the light, early turning leaves on some trees. The young female begins responding to these cues, eating more than necessary, building reserves for the coming winter, evaluating potential overwintering sites. She has survived one winter already, has the experience to guide her preparations. She knows what works. She inspects the cracks she used last year, still intact, still suitable. She will use it again. September arrives with dramatic temperature changes, warm days followed by cold nights. The insect population begins its seasonal decline. Summer species dying off, autumn specialists emerging. The young female continues hunting when weather permits, catches flies on warm afternoons, small beetles in the mornings, occasional moths at dusk. Every meal now is insurance against winter. By early October, she is ready. Her body is well prepared. Fat reserves are substantial. Her retreat site is selected. On October 15th, she begins building her second winter retreat. The construction is more efficient than last year. She has experience now, knows exactly how to layer silk for maximum insulation, knows optimal chamber size, knows proper sealing techniques. The retreat takes 2 days to complete. When finished, it is better than her first attempt. More robust, better insulated, more carefully positioned. On October 18th, she seals herself inside, layer after layer of silk across the entrance, creating the barrier that will protect her for months. When she finishes, she is in complete darkness. She settles into hibernation posture, her second winter dormancy, but this time she knows what to expect. Has experience with the long cold sleep. Her body begins its metabolic slowdown, heart rate decreasing, breathing minimal, body temperature dropping. She enters diapause, ready to survive another winter. Outside, October transitions into November. Leaves fall from the oak sapling. The bare branches reveal her sealed retreat, though it is so small and well camouflaged that nothing notices it. November brings cold. December brings colder temperatures. January is brutal. But inside her retreat, the young female persists. Her preparation was thorough. Her retreat is well constructed. Her reserves are adequate. She survives through the coldest months, through snow and ice and temperatures that drop below -20. Her antifreeze compounds keep her cells from freezing. Her silk retreat provides sufficient insulation. Her metabolism runs at absolute minimum, conserving every molecule of stored energy. February passes, March arrives. The young female stirs, begins her awakening process, metabolism accelerating, body systems restarting. She works on her entrance seal. The silk gives way. Light enters. She emerges onto the oak sapling bark. She has survived her second winter. She is now approximately 2 years old, entering her third season of life. This makes her elderly by jumping spider standards, but she is healthy, strong, experienced. She positions herself in spring sunlight, warms her body, and begins hunting. A springtail. The beginning of another cycle, another season, another opportunity to hunt, survive, reproduce. She has made it further than most jumping spiders ever do. 2 full years, 2 successful overwinterings, 1 reproductive cycle complete. Perhaps another ahead if she survives the coming months. Her mother lived 3 years. Her grandmother possibly the same. She carries their genes, their traits, their survival strategies. Maybe she will match their longevity. Maybe she will exceed it. Or maybe this will be her final season. There is no way to know. Just the daily work of survival. 1 hunt at a time, 1 decision at a time, 1 moment at a time. She moves across the oak sapling bark, hunting for her first substantial meal of spring. Behind her, sealed in retreats throughout the forest, dozens of her offspring wait. Some will emerge successfully. Others will not survive winter, but enough will make it. Enough to continue the population. Enough to ensure jumping spiders persist in this forest. One generation flowing into the next. Life continuing through the only method it knows. Reproduction, variation, selection. Repeated endlessly across countless individuals, each life brief and seemingly insignificant, but collectively creating something remarkable. The persistence of life itself, the refusal to quit, the simple stubborn continuation of existence against all odds. This is the story of jumping spiders, and the story of every creature that has ever lived. Success measured not in years, but in offspring. Not in individual survival, but in genetic continuation. Not in comfort, but in the willingness to face another day, another challenge, another opportunity to persist. Spring arrives for the third time in the young female's life. She emerges from her winter retreat with the confidence of a survivor who has done this before. Twice before, actually. She is now entering her third year. Ancient by jumping spider standards, her body shows subtle signs of age, movements slightly less sharp than they once were, vision perhaps not quite as perfect, but she is functional, experienced, still capable. She hunts through April with practiced efficiency, catches flies and springtails, rebuilds her strength after winter, prepares her body for what will likely be her final breeding season. A male finds her in early May, young and enthusiastic. His display is energetic. She is receptive. They mate successfully. Her final clutch of eggs begins developing. She hunts aggressively through May, feeding constantly, building resources for egg production. Her body directs energy toward reproduction one last time. In early June, she builds her final egg sac retreat. The construction is efficient, refined by 2 previous iterations. She knows exactly what she is doing. She lays 35 eggs this time, fewer than her previous clutches. Her aging body has fewer resources to spare, but 35 is still substantial. 35 more chances at genetic continuation. She creates the egg sac with careful precision, then settles in to guard. Her third and final maternal duty. The weeks pass slowly in the sealed retreat. No food, no hunting, just vigilance and waiting. Outside, June transitions into July. The forest operates at peak summer activity. Insects everywhere, birds feeding young in nests, the ecosystem thriving. Inside the retreat, eggs develop. Late July brings hatching. 35 miniature spiders emerge. She opens the egg sac, watches them move into the larger chamber, then opens the retreat entrance. They begin dispersing immediately, climbing up and down the oak sapling, seeking their own territories, beginning their own journeys. She has completed her purpose. 3 breeding seasons, 3 successful clutches, more than 100 offspring total across 3 years. Most have died or will die soon, but some have survived. Some are hunting in this forest right now. Some will reproduce themselves. Her genes will continue through them, through their offspring, through generations she will never see. This is success in evolutionary terms. She emerges from her retreat exhausted, thinner than she has ever been. Her body is failing now. The accumulated strain of 3 years is catching up. She hunts weekly through early August, catches small prey when she can, springtails mostly, easy targets that require minimal effort. But recovery is not happening this time. Her body has reached its limit. Age has accumulated beyond the point of renewal. One warm afternoon in mid-August, She positions herself in sunlight on the oak sapling bark. The same bark she has hunted on for 2 years, the territory she claimed as her own. She is tired. Her legs are stiff. Her eyes are dim. She settles into a resting position and simply stops. Not dramatically, not violently, just a quiet ending. Her heart slows, stops. Her breathing ceases, and she is gone. 3 years old. Exceptional longevity for a jumping spider. 3 successful breeding seasons. 2 winters survived. Countless hunts. Thousands of decisions that kept her alive one more day. She dies on the bark she knew so well. Within hours, ants will find her body, will carry her away, piece by piece, recycle her back into the ecosystem. Nothing wasted. But her legacy continues. Throughout the forest, her offspring and their offspring hunt on dozens of trees. Some are just spiderlings, barely surviving their first weeks. Others are subadults, growing stronger daily. A few have already reproduced, creating the 4th generation of her genetic line. One young female among them has claimed territory on a birch tree at the forest edge. She is approximately 3 millimeters long, hunting springtails successfully. She carries her great-grandmother's genes, the same traits that made 3 generations successful: good territorial selection, effective hunting instinct, quality retreat construction. She does not know her ancestry, has never met her great-grandmother, but she benefits from genetic legacy nonetheless. This is how life continues, not through individual immortality, but through the passing of traits from generation to generation. Each successful spider contributing genes to the next wave, each failure removing less successful genetic combinations. Selection operating constantly, refining, optimizing. The forest ecosystem remains stable because of creatures like jumping spiders, tiny predators consuming enormous numbers of small insects, keeping populations in balance, and themselves being consumed by larger predators. Energy flowing through the system in endless cycles. The oak sapling where 3 generations lived will host more jumping spiders. New individuals will claim that territory, will hunt that bark, will build retreats in those same crevices. The tree does not care who occupies it. It simply provides habitat, structure, opportunities for countless small lives, and the jumping spiders will continue. Spring after spring, generation after generation, each individual brief and seemingly insignificant, but collectively creating something remarkable. The persistence of life, the refusal to quit, the simple continuation of existence. This is the story of one jumping spider family across 3 generations, but it is also the story of every jumping spider, every creature that lives and dies in this forest, every organism that has ever existed. We are all connected through the simple fact of being alive, of facing challenges, of making decisions that determine survival, of passing forward what we can to the next generation. The jumping spiders in this forest will continue long after the individuals in this story are gone. We'll hunt and hide and reproduce. We'll survive winters and summers. We'll face threats and find opportunities. We'll persist because persistence is what life does best. Each spider lives just a few years at most, but the species has existed for millions of years. Will exist for millions more if the world allows it. This is the power of reproduction, of genetic continuation, of the endless cycle of birth and growth and reproduction and death. Individual lives are brief, but life itself endures. The forest remains, the ecosystem functions, and the tiny hunters continue their work, one small spider at a time, one leap at a time, one generation at a time. This is their story. Simple, quiet, mostly unnoticed, but beautiful in its persistence, remarkable in its continuation. A testament to the power of life to endure, adapt, and persist against all odds. The oak sapling stands in morning light. Somewhere on its bark, a young jumping spider is waking, preparing to hunt, continuing the cycle that has repeated countless times before and will repeat countless times again. Life goes on, as it always has, as it always will.